What's up, everyone? I'm Rick Knight. Welcome back to another video here at The Bad Philosopher. So I'm reading a article from the New York Times talking about anti-Semitic attacks here in New York City. It appears that Jewish people make up 50% of the biased attacks here in the city. Yes, in this very ultra-liberal, democratic, progressive city, anti-Semitism makes up 50% of all biased attacks. They said it happens, a biased attack towards Jews are about four times greater than against black people, and more than the transgender community by a factor of 20 or something like that. It appears that it's not a big issue. It's not really spoken about. There's been a multiple number of synagogues targeted and SWAT stickers being spray painted, and vandalism and arson and attacks on people. The New York Times gave a couple examples of Hasidic Jews being assaulted just for being Jewish here in New York City, and the liberals are now talking about it. They're not making a big issue about it, but we do know that when it happens to a person of color or transgender or someone from the LGBTQ, R2D2, C3PO community, it's all over the news and it's the hottest ticket in town. But when it happens to a member of the religious community, because most of the Jewish people that are attacked, it is happening in Williamsburg and Borough Park and places like that where Crown Heights, places that are very, very, very religious. Now, I don't go with the whole religious thing. I'm an atheist. I really don't care about religion. But, you know, it is absolutely uncalled for and disgusting to target anyone based on anything. And I would say this even about the gay community. To attack them just for being gay, to physically attack them for being gay is an outrage, and it is morally wrong, and it is disgusting, whether I agree with their lifestyle or if I agree with their political ideology, even though I'm on a different side of the aisle than they are. But they absolutely deserve to be physically protected. You cannot go around assaulting people because you don't like their skin color or their sexual orientation or their religion or whatever the case may be. But the left does not seem to mind when a certain group is assaulted, when they make up 50% of the biased attacks. The left doesn't care, and they don't really mention it. Recently, an individual was arrested for vandalism and for arson, and he happened to be a young black man, and they're not really speaking about that much. They're not really saying that it's a young black man who did this. They showed a small little picture of him that the video camera picked up, and it turns out that he was a former intern for the Democratic Party for campaigning. He was a volunteer to campaign for Obama. He also worked with Christine Quinn, who was a former city councilman here in New York City, and he was responsible for these attacks. Also, the New York Times cited a Muslim man who was a livery driver, a cab driver, who assaulted an Hasidic Jew and yelled a bunch of slurs at him. They also spoke about a young kid who was assaulted by two men. They did not say what color these two men were. In another article I read from the New York Times, they said it was a black teenager who chased down another Hasidic guy with a stick and beat him, yelling all kinds of anti-Semitic slurs. The truth of the matter is, most of the times when these attacks happen, they do happen in Crown Heights, Williamsburg, and Borough Park, mainly in Williamsburg and Crown Heights, and the suspects are almost always of black and Hispanic, mainly black descent, and it's never spoken about. We don't say anything about it. It doesn't reach the news. Nobody cares. If there's an arrest, which oftentimes there isn't, we don't talk about the person. We don't really show their face. We don't say a black man assaulted a Jewish man. But when the shoe is on the other foot, we say, you know, white man assaulted black man, and you know, you get the gist of my argument. Also, it was reported by the New York Times and by the NYPD that almost all of these biased attacks, there is almost no implication that the person is of a right-wing ideology. It is not a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi or anything like that doing these attacks. It's often someone who's most likely leaning to the left, not the right. But this is another thing that the left doesn't want to talk about, that they have anti-Semites in their party. They have anti-Semites on their side of the aisle that the left is also anti-Semitic, just as much as members of the right, just as much as the Klan and the Nazis and the skinheads and Aryan Brotherhood and all that stuff. The left also has it. Farrakhan, who's the leader of the crappy nation of Islam, recently called Jews termites, and you know Farrakhan as the man who has taken multiple pictures with Obama and Maxine Waters and all the other black Democrats and a lot of white Democrats as well. He's good friends with them, with those folks on that side of the aisle. And nope, nobody's calling him out for his comments. This goes to show you exactly the type of game that is being played in the political system. It's outright disgusting, no matter what side you're on. I'm a member of the right, and I will speak out against a fellow member of the right if he or she chooses to use violence against another individual based on that person's skin color or religion or sexual orientation. I don't even like to be in the company of people on the right who have hateful views towards another person based on skin color and religion and sexual orientation and all that stuff. I strictly criticize the ideology, what you stand for, your moral standards is what I'm criticizing, is what I'm challenging. I'm challenging you based on your thoughts, because in my worldly view, at least for me as an individual, only the intellect matters. But on the left, only the skin color, gender, or who you have sex with matters. They don't feel the need to call out members on their side for committing disgusting acts of bigotry, but they will call out members of our side for the simplest things. So I'm just putting that out there and showing you the hypocrisy, what's going on and what happens here in this ultra liberal city where you would think we all love each other and we're living in this utopia of diversity and, you know, equity and diversity and inclusion and all of this stuff. And no, you have open anti-Semites, open bigotry in this city that's being perpetrated by people who are on the left. And some of these people are people of color. And the left is virtually silent about it, showing you exactly who they are. Well, like, share, comment, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next video.